And when I tell you that, the people of St. Michael West have proven that for themselves. I have been around St. Michael West over the last couple of months, couple of weeks. What is important is that the people in St. Michael West say that Carrington knows he's going to pass shortly, and he painted the walls in Westbury Cemetery yellow. He wanted to break carry off. Ladies and gentlemen, this person now, no more ado, let's welcome Reverend Joseph Atherley, your final speaker for tonight.
We go with Joe. 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 I want you to know. We go with Joe. We go with Joe. We go with Joe. I want you to know. Where we going? Straight down to Parliament we go.
I'd like to say good night to everybody all across Black Rock and Grisettes and all across these parts of St. Michael where red is the order of the day. And all across St. Michael, the red wave is taking over. And on the 21st of February, in the year of our Lord 2013, I feel fully assured that a tsunami of red will overtake this country. And among those elected to the Parliament of Barbados will be Mr. Ian Gooding Edjo. I encourage you towards that, and I thank you for your commitment of support for Ian. But just to speak a few words to you tonight, before we go to our homes. You know, a few short years ago, we were aspiring to, planning on, working towards becoming a fully developed country, prosperous, socially just, globally competitive. That was our dream just a few short years ago. Tonight, that dream lies in ashes at our feet. The ensuing period has been the long years of Democratic Labour Party government, a failure in leadership, a failure at the level of policy, pain in the bosoms of our people, pain in the heart of our society. And our dream lies in ashes tonight at our feet. We cannot say that we are on the threshold still of becoming a fully developed society. We cannot say that we are on the cusp of becoming a prosperous country. In fact, over the last 4 or 5 years, we have been significantly impoverished. But that has been our dream, which tonight is in tatters because of poor government over the last 4 or 5 years. And there were some specific things that we planned to do as a country, but these specific things were also significantly strategic. The things we planned to do to move us to that point of prosperity and full development and social justice in our country, becoming globally competitive in the region and in the world. And I'd just like to speak to a couple of those things. Barbadian people 4 or 5 years ago, led by the Arthur administration, planned to unleash the spirit of the nation. That was one of the specific strategic things that significantly we were planning to do. Unleash the spirit of the nation. Rather than having had the opportunity to do that over the last 4 to 5 years, Barbados tonight is a nation in reverse. A nation in reverse. Barbados tonight is a country adrift and a country in doubt. Barbadian people tonight have become a people fastly being marginalized and alienated from hope. Barbados tonight is an economy in decline. Barbados tonight is a society bereft of spirit. That is a far cry away from the dream of 5 short years ago. And the intervening dynamic, the intervening factor, has been the failed government of the Democratic Labour Party at the level of leadership, at the level of policy. And tonight, our dreams stand to be dashed. Unless on February 21st, there is a move away from failed leadership. Unless on February 21st, there's a move away from failed policies, that dream stands not to be realized. And our country stands in jeopardy of being left bereft of spirit. And postured in the reverse. Barbadians cannot let that happen. February 21st gives us a chance to correct the course upon which we are embarked. February 21st gives us the opportunity to stop the rot, to stop the decline, to put an end to failed government and failed leadership. February 21st gives us an opportunity to restore Owen Arthur to the helm of government in this country and give Barbadians once again the chance to breathe and to dream. It is a shame. It is a pain what we have become. But we shall have the opportunity shortly to correct course and to make change. The Barbados Labour Party fully understands. We understood then in government. We understand now we are not in government. We understand that 2 weeks before an election. We understand that 2 weeks before you re-elect us to manage the affairs of this country. That substantially the energy around the spirit of the nation is reposed in the bosom of our young people. The young people of Barbados represent the hope of this country. One of the greatest sins that the Democratic Labour Party administration over the last 5 years has committed is that they have created in the minds of young people in this country an absence of confidence in the ability of our system of government to deliver on the promises made to them 4 or 5 years ago. The system of government under which we live is understood by young people to be a mechanism put in place to create an environment in which their aspirations could be realized, their dreams can come true, their ambitions could be pursued and fully realized in their lives. But alas, there's a serious level of cynicism existing in the minds of young people, for they've seen over the past 4 or 5 years a system which not only has failed them, but a system which has betrayed them. And I have said several times already in this campaign, one of the reasons why I'm a candidate in 2013 is because if I can help in St. Michael West to stop the light of hope from going out in the eyes and minds of our young people, then I offer myself to serve. We cannot allow the light of hope to grow dim in the eyes of our young people. We cannot allow the light of hope to be extinguished in the minds and the eyes of our young people. The day that hope dies, this country dies. And the Barbados Labour Party does realize that substantially so, the energies which we must unleash to reach towards that goal of a fully developed, prosperous, socially just, and globally competitive society, those energies are reposed in the bosoms of our young people. We understand only too well that the better tomorrow which we have promised, the better tomorrow which the Barbados Labour Party will deliver, the better tomorrow for which you will vote on February 21st, that can only be delivered if we afford our young people the opportunities which they demand and which they deserve. This is one strong reason why I'm so glad that people like Ian Goodenough, people like Gregory Nichols, people like Santia Bradshaw are part of the new talent and the new platform of the Barbados Labour Party team. Because there's youthful energy, there's youthful ability, there's youthful vision reposed in their bosom, and they can connect with the young people of this country and help to deliver on the promises of the Barbados Labour Party. If a better tomorrow is to be realized, if a better tomorrow is to be delivered by the Barbados Labour Party, and it will be, we understand that as a government, we must create that environment in which opportunities arise that respond to the demands and the just deserts of our young people. And the young people of BlackRock are not excluded. BlackRock is a throbbing network of communities packed with numbers of young people. Many of them I see on the streets of Barbados today unemployed, walking without a sense of purpose, walking in a sense of drift, lost, and in peril of losing the hope which once they had. The Barbados Labour Party understands that we must restore that hope by restoring the climate in which the young people are living and growing and dreaming and developing. And we will deliver on that promise of a better tomorrow by helping to create again, to restore again that opportunity in which youthful ambition can thrive and youthful dreams can be realized. We believe that that is essentially a very important part of the vision for the future. And I say to us tonight that this really is the context in which the Alexander School issue should be looked at. This is the context in which the Alexander debacle should be analyzed and studied, should be reflected on. The energy that we need to carry this nation forward is reposed in the bosom of our young people. The greater tragedy about the Alexandra debacle is not the ineptness of the government in handling the matter. Indeed, that is a tragedy. Indeed, that is sad. In fact, I firmly believe that had Mr. Jones been the Minister of Education in an Arthur administration, Mr. Jones would have been fired. I firmly believe that any leader of any government who was strong and sure of his position and did not have to rely on the alliance of numbers would have fired Mr. Jones. You cannot have a Minister of Education sitting on a report which is so significantly serious for 2 years, not bringing it to the attention of his cabinet, not bringing it to the attention of the Prime Minister, and yet he sits comfortably in that cabinet. Owen Arthur would have fired that man. You see, Owen Arthur represents strong leadership. Owen Arthur represents prudent leadership. Owen Arthur understands what is required in those who serve the people. They must be responsible. They must be accountable. They must be sensible. And if you don't do the job, then find somewhere else to go. It's as simple as that. That inept handling of the Alexandra issue is a sham, it's a debacle, it's a shame. And that's a great tragedy. But the greater tragedy is not in that ineptness. The greater tragedy is not in the wastage of taxpayers' money to establish a commission that arrives at dubious recommendations and conclusions. Although that was a waste, to spend almost $1 million, that money could have been spent on the same school to take it to the next level. Instead, it goes to the hands of lawyers, and it goes to the hands of commissioners who come to conclusions and make recommendations of which we were all well aware in the first place, and which were in large part the substance of a report that sat on the desk of a Minister of Education for 2 years, a minister who still holds his job. That's a tragedy. That's a shame. But the greater tragedy is not in the ineptness of the government. The greater tragedy is not in the wastage of, I didn't even see you there. The greater tragedy was not in the wastage of taxpayers' money to fund the commission that comes to conclusions and makes dubious recommendations upon which the government was unable to act. You know what the greater tragedy is in all of that? People fail to understand. People at the heart of government, at the center of government, fail to understand that the principles of consideration of the highest order had nothing to do with the head teacher of the school, but rather had to do with those I really consider to be the principals, the children in the equation. Their future, their livelihood, their careers, their young minds. In other words, the most important entity in all of that was not a Jeff Brooms' principal. It was not a Mary Redmond or Mary Pinkman. It was the children of Alexander School. Those in whose bosoms is reposed the energies that this country needs to take it forward for tomorrow. And the greater tragedy is that in all of that, they failed to see the importance attaching to getting it right for the children. And so we wasted money. And so we played around personalities. And so we played politics. And we attached a resolution of that matter to a political agenda. Things had to happen by a certain time. And things could not happen before a certain time because a resolution of the Alexandria issue was placed within the context of the playing out of a political agenda with respect to elections in Barbados. That is the greater tragedy. People who do these things fail to realize that if we are to go forward as a country, if we are to really unleash the spirit of the nation, if we are to recapture that sense of hope, that sense of spirit, that sense of purpose, that sense of pride, that sense of passion in the hearts of our people, then we have got to treat right to the issues that affect young people in this country. And people like Ian Edgell and Gregory Nichols and Santia Bradshaw will help us to do that in the new tomorrow. The Barbados Labour Party will deliver on a better tomorrow. But we understand that we cannot deliver on a better tomorrow unless we create those opportunities that respond to the aspirations and the just demands and deserts of our young people. MJ 911, you need to come to your car. MJ 911, you need to come to your car. The Barbados Labour Party planned to establish in Barbados a University College of Barbados. Now we have a government in office today that takes decisions principally and primarily, firstly, on the basis of what is politically expedient. And so we did not build flyovers in this country because they campaigned that we should not have flyovers, and flyovers seem to become a little bit unpopular. Having come to government, recognizing the wisdom of building them, because they'd taken a stand previously, they did not build them. Do you know that if flyovers had been constructed in this country, a lot of people tonight who stand idly in unemployment would have been employed for about 3-4 years? Do you understand that that could have been the centerpiece of capital works in this country over the last 3-4 years? Do you understand that? But they took a decision not to do it because it was political posturing. The same thing happened with reference to the University College of Barbados. The dream and vision of the Arthur administration was to establish an institution that brought our tertiary level facilities together to create the kind of synergies that would have improved and significantly enhanced our education project. This would have scaled up the image of our second-tier tertiary institutions in Barbados, places like the Polytechnic and the Barbados Community College. This would have allowed for greater specialization across the branches of the University College of Barbados. This could have taken tertiary level education in Barbados up a next level. These guys, because of political posturing and because of political expediency, chose not to go on with that. And I say this tonight. If you govern, you ought to govern in the interest of the people. And there's no one who can persuade me that it is not in the interest of those institutions. It is not in the interest of our young population attendant upon those institutions now and in the future to have established that institution, raising it to another level, tapping into those synergies, developing those specialist skills, scaling up the image of the second tier of those institutions, not leaving Cave Hill out there on its own, but bringing along the other institutions in the second tier of our tertiary level offerings in this country. But these guys chose not to do it because they do not understand that the energy to carry this country forward substantially is reposed in the bosom of our young people. They do not understand that. They rejected the EduTech program for the same reasons. They do not understand that if the country is to go forward and make significant strides, find its fit in the world, make its mark in the world, become that fully developed society which is prosperous, socially just, and globally competitive, then we have to take the young people with us because they are the wave of the future. But they fail to realize this. And their policies are premised on political posturing and political expediency, and not on prudence, which caters to the interests of our masses of people, especially our young people. If we are to deliver a better tomorrow, the Barbados Labour Party understands that we must put no impediment in the way of opportunities for our young people. Mr. Jones, the Minister of Education, again is to face the first charge in this regard. The Minister of Finance, secondly, is to face a charge in this regard. And the Prime Minister Leader of the Cabinet is to face a charge in this regard because they have imperiled the education offering at the University of the West Indies. They have jeopardized what the university is able to offer and do among our younger student population. And that comes from the university itself. By not meeting your financial obligations to the university, you are imperiling tertiary level education in Barbados. When you, as a Democratic Labour Party government, imperils tertiary level education in Barbados, you are betraying the dream of Errol Walton Barrow. And that's sad. But even more sad is that you bring a shadow across the dreams of young people in this country who go through secondary school with the purpose of going on to Cave Hill and studying and becoming what they want to be in this world and taking Barbados to the next level. These guys have imperiled university education in this country by not properly meeting their financial obligations and not having in place a prudent policy with respect to financing of that education. So the same problems we have today, if this government is not changed, we will have next year in relation to the University of the West Indies. And they have imperiled the university by messing about with the university. I have said this before and I say it here tonight. This minister called Jones is engaging in a form of jonesing that brings no merriment to the young people of this country. Now I can't Jones. I can't Jones. I can't dance. I can't even jig. I don't even try. And I don't know if he can. Jones. But he's engaging a form of jonesing that does not excite the interests of the young people in this country. When you mess with university education, you are messing not only with the heritage of Barbados and your own party and the Barbados Labour Party, you are messing with the future of the youth population of this country. You are messing with the development chances of Barbados. It is a serious thing. It is not that we can't afford to pay. It is not that things wrong and we excuse and beg off. No, as a responsible government, you must find the wherewithal to properly fund a tertiary level education and do it with certainty. Tonight, there's great uncertainty. The university knows not what it will do tomorrow. The university has had to reduce its program and constrain itself at a time when it was expressing a vision about taking university education in Barbados to a higher level and reaching the world and bringing the world to Barbados and improving our country's chances in the world. All of that is in peril tonight. Because these guys don't seem to understand that if you're going to unleash the spirit of the nation, substantially the energy that will drive that spirit is reposed in the breasts of our young people, and you have to create the environment in which opportunities are given to afford a response to their dreams and their just deserts. These guys don't understand that. It is not about renaming schools. You have to give this government air about the business of renaming school. They rename a school every week. I cannot tell you now the name of the school. I went into one yesterday. I think it is still called Atherley, but I am not sure. And if it is Atherley tonight, by next week, if they're still there, it probably will not be Atherley anymore. But it is not about renaming schools. It must be about, hello, when you rename a school, you have done nothing for the student population in that school. You have satisfied a questionable need in your own mind and heart. But you have done nothing for the students of that school when you rename the school. It must be more than about renaming schools. I want to tell you tonight, I believe it must be about recasting our vision for education in this country. Hear me? I believe with all my heart, and I hope the Barbados Labour Party believes that, it must be about recasting our vision for education in this country. Errol Barrow would have had a certain vision for education, but I want to say, and I say this humbly, and I say this not in a critical way, I say this simply as a humble observation that I offer for your consideration. The Errol Barrow vision for education in this country, noble as it was, in the context of today, is a narrow vision. The world has changed substantially. Our circumstances have changed significantly. Our model of development is different today. The environment in which we must live and grow as a nation and pursue development has changed today. And that model, that vision of education that came out of the 50s and came out of the 60s, noble as it was, is narrow to the circumstances of today. We must recast a vision for education in this country. That is one of the things I want to say to the Barbados Labour Party. We have to. We cannot sit on our laurels. We have achieved much, and education has brought great socio-economic mobility to multitudes across this country. It started with the Barbados Labour Party. It was democratized, made popularized, and expanded with the Democratic. We have now reached a stage in our development where we need to recast that vision. And the Barbados Labour Party, it must be out of our bosom that vision is derived. I believe that. And I'll say that in the bosom of this party. And I don't know if they'll want to hear me, but we got to recast our vision for it. We have, in my view, to reinstitutionalize our system of education. What am I talking about? Hello, there are some serious elitist differentials in our education. There are some serious elitist differentials in our education system. We have to reinstitutionalize the system. There's a certain predictability of outcomes when once you go to certain schools. So you go to Harrison College, you are expecting to end up on a platform like this, speaking in a political context and going to the House Assembly of Barbados to represent the people when you go to Harrison College. But when you go to Parkinson, it is expected that often you may be found along Corey Street or White Park Road. And I'm saying to us, humbly, we have to reinstitutionalize the system to take care of some of those elitist differentials. The college boy must not be made comfortably to feel that he's any better than the fellow that went to Parkinson. One of the problems with the Democratic Labour Party tonight is that the college boys feel better, that they are better than the Parkinson boy. So Chris Sinclair can't have bones with me, and Michael Lashley can't have bones with me, because I went to Harrison College, because of the elitist differentials, because of the predictability of outcomes, we have to recast the vision. We have to reinstitutionalize the system and make education, give it greater evidence of equity. You understand that? I have no problem with anybody. But I know Barbadian culture. And I hear people speak. And I know how the college boys group together. And I know how the Combermere boys group together. You remember what Hartley Henry said? That when David Thompson was leader, and he talked often with him, if you came from Combermere, you cut it. If you came from elsewhere, wait in line. We have to remove this clique elitism, the differentials which exist out of our system, and we have to remove the element of predictability in the system. So we have to recast the vision. We have to reinstitutionalize the system. We have to revise and refresh our curriculum so that it matches our development model, so that it matches what we are doing in terms of our economy. We cannot have the education sector operating as though it is an alien world from that of the business and commercial and enterprise sector. The two must mesh, and what we offer in our curriculum must be such that it responds to the needs of the world of business about us. And what we do in the world of business must relate to what we do in the context of our curriculum. We have to revalue the skills of our young people in this country. Some skills today are too seriously regarded as menial. And so because you have that, listen, I talked to a carpenter one day downtown. And I said to him, I understand that carpenters are some of the best paid people in this country. And he responded to me in a very matter-of-fact way. I would agree with that. Means as a carpenter, he's making some money. Plumbers are making money. Tilers are making money. But I say to you, we have to so revalue the skills that people have in this country that the carpenter is not seen as a second-class citizen. The plumber from down Black Rock is not seen as a second-class citizen. The tiler from St. Stephen's is not seen as a second-class citizen because he does not wear a suit and tie or a collar. When I was a boy, my mother used to say to me often, Junior, when you go to school, make sure that you learn well, so that when you come out, you get a collar and tie job, because I don't want you down at Waterford picking pond grass. And I am saying to you that we've got to be careful that we attach fair value to the skills of our people. We need tradesmen in this country. Tradesmen and tradeswomen are going to some of our best secondary and tertiary institutions. And when they come out of these institutions, this country cannot afford to make them feel like they are second-class citizens. A young boy ought to be able to go to St. Stephen's School, primary school, or St. Giles Primary School and stand up proudly and say, my father is a mechanic, my father is a carpenter, my father is a plumber. Should not be made to feel ashamed because your father is not an accountant or some specialist or lawyer or doctor in this place. We have to revalue the skills. We have to remove the stigma that attaches to some of these things. We've got to reward initiative and achievement in this country in better ways. Hello, all I am saying is that we need a revolution in our education system, because the model under which we live, though it has served us well, it has served its time, and we need to revisit what we offer in terms of education to our young people in this country. And we need to do it in short order. We need to do it in short order, for our young people impatiently await the help of the system set up to serve them. And I'm glad that Ian Gooding-Edgell is going to be from the inside a part of that system. I am glad that Ian Gooding-Edgell, a young man, a young executive, a handsome, good-looking young executive, is going to be from the inside a part of that system. And I know that down here you are going to vote for Ian Gooding-Edgell, and down here you are going to vote for Gregory Nichols. And if anything is to be gone by what we witnessed at Atherley School yesterday, Mr. Christopher Sinclair is a thing of the past. Mr. James Paul is a thing of the past. I walked into the Atherley School yesterday, helping to carry Gregory Nichols for his nomination, and I've never seen anything like that in my life. It gave me goosebumps all over my hands. 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds in rapturous, spontaneous eruption of noise, shouting for red, 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 red. We're going red, 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 red. That was the cry. And I'm telling you, if those people could vote tomorrow, Mr. Paul would already have been gone, and Mr. Chris Tinkler would already have been gone. But 2 weeks from now, you will get your opportunity. 2 weeks from now, you will get your opportunity. Go to the polls, go early, and support the Barbados Labour Party young talent down here in this area. Now, that is one significant and specific undertaking the Barbados Labour Party intended and still intends to take this country forward as we aspire towards becoming a fully developed, prosperous, socially just country, globally competing in this world. But here's a second. We understand that we need new governance for these new times. I want to say a word about that to us and a word to the Barbados Labour Party. We need new governance for new times. When we talk about new governance, people usually think about the system. And it's not the system so much that is bad, but the system can always be improved. But it is the practice and the culture obtaining within the system that we have to address. And we do need new systems and new governance for this new time. But we need to improve the practice. We need to improve the culture. Let me say this. I believe that voters in Barbados must have a greater reach on those who are elected by them than that which is afforded every 5 years. Let me explain. I believe that you will go on February 21st to vote. You will vote for Ian Gooding-Edgell. But I believe also that you should have the opportunity somewhere before 5 years beyond that, in 2018, that if you had to lay your hands on Ian Gooding-Edgell and say you are not doing the job, we done with that, you should be given that opportunity. And that reach, which is limited to a vote every 5 years, is too narrow a reach. That reach must be made more immediate, I should say. Let me illustrate something to you. There's a man called Hamilton Lashley. People think that he is the Messiah among poor people in this country. People see him not as a politician, but as a community practitioner, whatever that is. And I was appalled to hear Hamilton Lashley say when he was a member of the Barbados Labour Party, he did not vote for the Barbados Labour Party. He voted on the other side. I want to tell you, I don't really believe that. I do not really believe that. Because to believe that is to have thoughts about Hammy that I do not want to have. But this is the point I want to make. And it's not about Hammy. It is about a precept. It is about a precept, a principle. Hamilton Lashley was elected as a Barbados Labour Party candidate in 2008. Hamilton Lashley was elected as a Barbados Labour Party candidate in 2008. In short order thereafter, at the opportune moment, Hamilton Lashley crossed the floor and became a member on the government side of the Democratic Labour Party. Here is what I'm trying to say to you. Any member, I believe, elected in any constituency to a party for which he runs, and he goes to the House Assembly of Barbados, if he or she crosses the floor to join the other party, giving that party a 2/3 majority that the electorate did not intend, that person should be made to come back to the electorate. That's what I'm talking about. When people vote, they express a will. When you voted for this government in 2008, you voted for them for 5 years. They are now into their 6th year, having no concern about your will as expressed by your vote. when Hamilton lastly crossed the floor, ceasing to be a member of the Barbados Labour Party, the ticket on which he was elected by you, and you understood that he would serve you as a member of the Barbados, when he crossed the floor and joined the Democratic Labour, giving them a two-thirds majority in Parliament, giving them the ability to change the country's constitution, that is a serious step, and he should have been made. And the law should so reflect it going forward, to come back to the people and ask them, are you pleased that I should do this? You see, we have got to address this business of governance in significant. Here's another one. There are some people in this election who believe that they can retain their seats by the amount of money that they spend. There's some people who believe that they can buy your votes in this election, and that the only thing they are relying on to save them is money. And so they will come and offer you money, because they believe that they can buy your, and without that money, they believe they can't win, so they will come to spend money. And some of them got loads of money. Some of them got tons of money. And that is why I say, within the bosom of the Barbados Labour Party, when we come to office again, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that going forward in this country, no election outcome can be determined principally on the basis of who has the most money to spend. Grantley Adams fought for democratic privilege in Barbados. Grantley Adams struggled in the leadership of this party to make sure that poor working class people, men and women, could have the right to vote, and that the privilege of vote was not only given to persons who had money, they could influence the vote, they can sit in the House Assembly of Barbados. He said, and he led this party in an effort to democratize the system, giving to all of us who qualify by age the right and privilege of voting, so that money did not make a difference to your ability to vote, and money did not make a difference to your ability to sit in the House of Representatives in this country. And today, I believe it constitutes part of the incomplete and unfinished task of the Barbados Labour Party to make sure that proper campaign financing rules are in place in Barbados, so that nobody can come to the electorate and believe that they can win a seat based on the amount of money that they have. I believe that the Democratic Labour Party, as I understand it, expects to win in St. Michael Northwest because they got enough money. I hear they expect to win in St. James South because they got enough money. I hear they expect to win in St. Michael West because they're going to spend some money. But I tell you here tonight, listen to me very carefully. I have a father who is rich in houses and lands. He holdeth the wealth of the world in his hands. And he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He stands with me. And all I'm saying is this: new governance for new times requires that we put in place campaign financing so that people cannot affect the outcome of elections by money. And we need to so address this system so that people cannot manipulate the system. You run a one-party ticket, you cross the floor and give another party a two-thirds majority so that they can manipulate and change the constitution. That is wrong. And the reach of the public must be such that it can bring them in and rein them back. I believe power in greater measure should be reposed in the bosom of community mechanisms in this country to help us go forward as a country. They're signaling me that it's time to shut up. I've gotten about halfway in my presentation, but I can stop because I play by the rules. I play by the rules for now. But I seriously want to urge you, go out on February 21st, all across these parts, in Northwest for Gregory, in West Central for Ian, in the North for Ronald Toppin, in the Northeast for Mia Motley, in Central for Arthur Holder, in South Central for David Gill, in Southeast for Santia Bradshaw, in the East for Trevor Prescott, In Bridgetown, please, for Jeffrey Bostic. Did I miss anybody? In the South, for Mr. Newell Lynch, and take out the Prime Minister, call Mr. Stewart. And by all means, please, in St. Michael West, vote for Joseph Atherley. Ian Gooden Edgell is my good friend, and I do not want to go anywhere without him. Gregory is my good partner, and I do not want to go anywhere without him. So from these parts, send a trio to the House of Assembly of Barbados, that together we might ascend to represent your interests. I trust that you have a good night. Go home and sleep. Rest well until tomorrow. Thank you.
Want them, not them again. Tell me what you want. Bring the change.
Ladies and gentlemen, with a speech like that, we could have gone on and on and on. You agree with that?